I am Vinnie Tortorich, folks. Your good intentions have been stolen, but don't worry. I'm here to help you get them back. You may be soft and succulent at the beginning of this process, but hang in there. Before long, you'll be lean and mean. Guaranteed. Yeah, it's the Wednesday show. And I know it still says Gina Grad at the top of the page whenever we start this show, but we've been changing it up a bit lately. We had Gina Grad come in, not Gina Grad, we had Teresa Strasser come in for a few shows, and that worked out. Thank you, Teresa. And I still haven't decided what to do with this show. So we're still bringing on guests. We're still bringing on guest hosts to co-host it with me. And today we have none other than the guy that a lot of you know because he's with me twice a month over on the VIP group. But he's here today on Wednesday, so you guys can hear that sultry voice that everyone loves. Some people even say he sounds like a strip joint DJ. And by some people, I do mean my buddy Don Coddington.
It's the
yes.
Millionaire Don Coddington's Friday, 5 o'clock.
I'm talking about none other. You just heard his voice. Mr. Chris Shaffer. How you doing, buddy?
Good, brother. How you doing?
I'm hanging in there, man. Chris, you know, lots to talk about with you today because you and I have been doing a lot of things. And I repeat, I don't want to make this whole show because the Wednesday show is a shorter show. I don't want to make it all about what you and I are doing in the background, but we're doing a lot. As a matter of fact, we're doing so much in the background over at, purecoffeeclub.com, purevitaminclub.com especially, and NSNG Foods, that Chris and I are now working together. We're on the phone all day, every day. As a matter of fact, his poor fiance over there is wondering if we're not having a relationship, right?
Oh, she is well aware that we have a relationship, and in fact has referred to you as my work wife. And I think your lovely bride did not give me that level. I think she called me your work fling or something like that the other day. I said, I'll take it. I'll take it because it sounds fancy when you have that nice British accent. But I would prefer work wife if I have to have, a title.
Yeah. So let's talk about that real brief. I know you have a couple of health news stories that we're going to bring up, but I want to bring up a few things. First, the VIP group. Let's go there first. That thing is swinging. That's why I was playing Sultans of Swing. Matter of fact, tonight is the 30th. And, tomorrow's the 1st. So we're doing another check-in tonight. Explain what goes on, Chris, during the check-ins.
Man, I got to say, I love the check-ins. And it sounds a little self-serving coming from you and I, but it's essentially a time for us to get together with everybody that's in the VIP group and talk about anything that somebody is struggling with. Maybe it's even a win they want to share, right? It's essentially an open forum where they get to chat directly with you. And yes, they have to listen to me talk as well every once in a while. Occasionally, I'll have something beneficial to contribute to the conversation, but it's usually just me making sure that all of the technology is squared away and that we can get people on. But it's a really nice way for people to be able to engage, not just with each other, but directly with you and get their questions answered and share their wins, which I think is something that's a really underappreciated thing, especially in the NSNG world, right? Because not everything is a scale victory. And everybody that's been around the community for a while knows what an NSV is, right? A non-scale victory. Yeah. But if you're not hanging out in the Facebook group or you don't have a good community of people to hang out with, you don't always get a chance to share that. And it's not always, hey, I'm struggling to lose weight. Sometimes it's, hey, I'm struggling to gain weight. Or what can I do to struggle or to get around this last 2 or 3 pounds, right? So it runs the gambit of, I'm just getting started. I don't know what to do, to, hey, what can I do to lose these last 1, 2, or 3 pounds? And we get the whole gambit in that group, which I think is really cool.
And sometimes it's, I've lost 200 pounds and I still have 100 to go, right? Which is, it's amazing how much they've lost, but it's still a daunting amount of weight to lose. And the stories are so amazing. And look, as you know, Chris, people were asking us to do this for years. Serena kept saying, do it, do it, do it. Anna kept saying, you need to do it. By the way, Anna's going to be in the group tonight. I don't know if you know that.
I do now.
Yeah, Anna's dropping in tonight, and you know, uh, I kept going. It's something I would have to charge for, and the whole thing, and I like to keep it free and all this, but we don't charge a lot of money. It's a couple of bucks a month, and we have that. There are a lot of tools. We have the group. It's a private group where they can all talk amongst themselves. I come in twice a month and do this, the check-ins with you. They're supposed to last an hour. Most of the time they go somewhere between 75 minutes and 3 hours. I'm exaggerating. They go about 90 minutes sometimes. But we don't leave until everyone who wants to chat and wants to say something, we don't stop until they're all done. So it's not like, hey, we're taking one last person here and then the rest of you. Like, no, as long as there's people that want to talk, we do it. And it's worked like a charm to the point. And we're not ready to roll this out yet. But Chris, you may have noticed on the Friday show, I'm not just doing luminaries anymore. At some point, we went from 5 shows down to 3 shows because people started going, I can't keep up with 5 shows. I have my murder porn podcast I have to listen to. I have to listen to Mike Rowe, Adam Carolla, what have you. The other guy, the other comedian, I can't think of his name right now. Help me out. Rogan. I got all these other podcasts. I can't fit in 5 a week. We moved it to 3 a week. And one of the problems with moving it to 3 a week is that we used to have that Saturday show, which was a success story show. So I started, instead of just doing luminaries on Friday, I've been doing also success stories on Friday, and people are responding to that. Now, Chris and I are thinking about, and we haven't really worked out the logistics yet, but we're thinking maybe once a month on Friday of doing a live call-in show, just like my buddy John Deloney does over on the John Deloney Show. He's a psychologist, and he offers advice, and he takes, I want to say per show, he takes 3 or 4 calls. And we're working out the logistics of how people, how we'll let people know, hey, it's time to call in. Here's how you get in touch. And then we'll do 3 or 4. Chris, you want to chime in on that?
Yeah, I think the cool thing about that is it gives you a little bit of the VIP group experience without having to be in the VIP group to really understand exactly what we're doing there twice a month. But if you have a question, and Vinny, this is something I've noticed since I've started being more involved in the day-to-day stuff on the Pure Vitamin Club, Pure Coffee Club, NSNG food side, is a lot of the support emails that we get are, hey, I have this question. And we can write an email back and give you an answer to it, or we can give you the opportunity to ask that question and then go one level deeper. And I think that is something that you're really looking forward to. We're going to be playing around with that format. I know you and I have talked about 2 or 3 different ways that we can do it. And I think the real answer to this is just try it and see what we like and see what we don't like, and then go from there and get a little bit of feedback from the audience, right? Send us an email after we do that little test and let us know, or leave a comment on the video and let us know, and just kind of roll with it until we find a format that works for us. And I think the thing that's really nice with that type of a show is you don't just get to answer that surface level question. You get to do what Vinny does. And if you guys have ever had a consult with Vinny, Vinny will ask you what seem to be inane questions until he arrives at his point, right? And I think the good example of that, Vinny, is, okay, walk me through what you eat in a day. I get up and, right? And everybody says, oh, I get up and eat breakfast. Okay, what do you eat for breakfast?
Or they'll say, the other thing they'll say is, I have a protein in the morning. No. I didn't tell you to give me a macronutrient. What is that protein? Right. How much coffee? How much? But but we really go through that. Right. And it makes a difference. And other people are listening on those VIP calls, and they'll go, oh, I didn't know. Right. We don't know what we don't know until we kind of figure it out. Switching gears a little bit, because I want to get through a lot of things here. I've gotten a lot of very nice text and emails of people who have my personal email and phone number today, because we sent the letter out from purevitaminclub.com. Now, as everyone knows, that listens to this, and of course, tens of thousands of other people who have no idea who I am, who buy our products, we've had a problem with purevitaminclub.com. The letter today let everyone know that Andy, my buddy of 30 years, has stepped down, right? He was running the company. No, it was not an Andy issue. But I do think, and I think Chris can, I don't want to put words in your mouth, Chris. I'll let you say whatever you want to say. I think Andy was ready to retire. Andy is older. And it became daunting. And I don't think he was up for the fight. You know, we started having problems about midway through COVID with, you know, people still use COVID for everything. And I don't like using COVID for an excuse about anything. But that's when our problems started. And we had some people, not Andy, but we had other people working for us. And I'm not going to say any names, but they were dropping the ball on customer service. I thought that my customer service was being handled. I think that those people that were working for me was also lying to Andy, you know, sweeping things under the rug. They weren't doing their job. And I guess I kept saying to Andy, why are people asking me on Twitter and on all across social media, why are they saying their emails aren't being answered? Why are their phone calls not being answered? And Andy kept telling me that we answer every call every day. And then Andy would go downstairs from his office and go to the phone bank and say, hey, is everything being done? Oh yeah, boss. And then they would go back to, I guess, playing video games or whatever they were doing. I don't know what they were doing. But we were paying a lot of people to not do anything. And I was in the dark. I'm going to be the first to I'm the problem. I'm blaming this on me. I'm the problem because I didn't go any deeper than talking to Andy. I didn't know how to go deeper because I don't live in LA anymore, except for getting on a plane and going there. And I did. I went on the plane and went there for 12 days at one point. But guess what everyone did while I was there, Chris? You want to take a guess? They stood at attention. Exactly. They did everything perfectly. I'm like sitting there going, this is a well-oiled machine. And as soon as they got on the plane, they all took a big exhale and went back to playing video games or whatever they were doing. Right? I had the wool pulled over my eyes. Now we have two problems. Number one, we weren't able to get the supplies in time to make our products. That was the biggest problem. But the people we had hired to answer customer service, they weren't doing their job. And that's on me. That is on me. That's why when Andy says, I don't know how much more of this I could take, I should have retired 5 years ago. I said, you know what? I've watched George C. Scott play Patton. I grew up in the Lombardi world of get shit done, right? I'm an old Lombardiism guy. I turn over every stone. I make sure everything is done. It's what I do in my own life. I'm running my company that way. And I called Chris and I said, Chris, because Chris was already working for the company. I said, we can either fold tent and run, or we can walk through the fire. Are you with me? And before I said me, in the words, are you with me? Chris said, yeah, let's do this. Let's get this shit done. So we're doing this. Chris, you have anything you want to say? Anything you want to add?
Vinny, I think that's because the only place success comes before work is in the dictionary, right? And so just to throw a Lombardiism right back at you, it's one of these things where there's a lot of little things that added up to big problems. And when you called me, you said, hey, do you mind looking at this? And every time we would look at something, it would be, okay, here's a problem. Now let's go fix it. And what we realized over the last year, give or take, is that we essentially needed to rebuild everything from the ground up, because what works when you are a two-man shop running out of an apartment in LA does not work when you're a large business with a ton of different SKUs and you need to have a team in place. It's great to hire people. The problem when you hire people is people are lazy, right? People will only do what is expected of them. And if you don't have a way of checking in, you don't have a way of knowing exactly what's going on at every level of the business, it's very easy for things to slip through the cracks, or to have somebody go, hey, are you doing this? Yes. Okay. I don't have a way of checking on that. And so
Right.
what we've done really since January, and you and I have been on the phone pretty much since January every day,
Yeah.
with only a handful of exceptions. If you're traveling or I'm traveling, right? That like 6 hours when we're in the air, we're not on the phone together. But starting from scratch and saying, how do we rebuild this thing? And it's been, I guess, 10 months or nine full months as of recording this.
Yeah.
And we're finally starting to see a little bit of light at the end of the tunnel. And it affected really three big areas of the business for us, which are the three main things that we need to do as a business. And the first is making sure we have the highest quality ingredients, the best formulas at the best price that we can possibly have.
Right.
And the biggest problem we were running into there is, even if we found somebody that could give us those ingredients, we couldn't find people that could give us those ingredients in the quantities that we need on the timeline that we needed. So we started really at the beginning of this year looking to rebuild our entire supply chain. And I think we're at a point now where we can finally say, and we said this in the email that went out to everybody today, that we have ordered enough to survive a nuclear winter
Yeah.
while we figure out the rest of what's going on, right? One of the biggest issues that we had is when you order products, timelines shift. And we didn't have a great way of saying, hey, if this doesn't come in when they tell us 6 to 8 weeks, how much more are we going to need if it comes in week 9? How much more are we going to need if it comes in week 10 or week 12?
Right.
Because that's not something that small businesses typically have. So we literally had to sit down and build a system for ourselves, because the ones that are out there are hundreds or thousands of dollars a month to do something that you would think would be a fairly straightforward thing to do. And we had to start there.
And right,
And
I don't want to get that
go
deep
ahead.
into the weeds, but just to give everyone an idea, Chris and I, although the existing company was running, we built a model, almost like you would do, in a war room, right? We built the model of, if we had a magic wand, how would we do this? And now we're taking that model and switching it out for the old model and putting it in place. The long story short is, I've put more of my own personal money into this, a lot of money, a scary amount of money, to turn this company around, to get everything ordered, to get this new model in place. And you guys will see a lot of things changing. The website is going to look different, and we're not ready to talk about what that is yet. But all three of the websites are going to look different. We have ideas for the food company. We have a lot of things that we're going to be doing. This is not stagnant. No, we're not going away. We're growing. And all I ask of you guys is stick with us, because now that we've ordered everything, we're in that 10 to 12 week waiting period for all the stuff to come in, to ship you guys all of your back orders and catch you guys up, and then have enough to move forward. And that's my commitment to you. I'm walking through that fire, because I could have easily said, I quit, and then pulled out the same amount of money personally and gave you guys your money back, because that's what it would have taken. Right. And I'm begging you guys to stick with us, because I will make this company the greatest vitamin company, food company, and coffee company in the world. You watch what I'm going to do, because I'm doing this now. Right. I'm not making movies right now. I'm not doing anything else. This company has my undivided attention. And Katie, bar the door. That's an old phrase, Chris. You might not know that one. Katie,
one I
bar the
don't.
door. There's going to be some fighting in here. That's what we're doing. All right, Chris. Anyway, you have anything over there? Any articles? Anything for me?
Yeah, I got a few things. Before we jump off onto that, Vinny, I would say the other thing that I would ask of everybody in the community is that you keep us accountable on this stuff, right? And I know, Vinny, you mentioned in the email that went out today, our goal is to get you an answer, or tell you when we can get you an answer within that 24-hour window. 99% of the questions that we get from people right now is, where is my stuff? And until very recently, we couldn't tell you exactly where it was along the way, right? If we ran into a back order situation, we'd be in a holding pattern. And so you'd get an email from our customer service team that would say, hey, here's when we think it's coming in. We're now at a place where we can actually be proactive and over communicate a little bit. And I think I'd rather do that than leave anybody sitting in the dark. So we are going to be sending update emails about anything that's on back order. All of those kinds of things are going to be coming. And our goal, your goal and my goal, Vin, is to make sure that we never run out of anything again. It's not to say that we're going to be 100% on that, right? But if we aren't, then it's a couple days, maybe a week, and we know exactly when it's going to be in, and we can tell you that instead of, hey, it's on back order. Whee!
And
Right?
speaking of communications, I didn't just go out and hire someone from, a $12 an hour person or whatever minimum wage is, $20 an hour. Chris said, we need someone to run, to be our answer person. I said, Chris, I'm not going to mention her name here because I don't know if she wants her name mentioned. I said, I met a woman once at a convention, and her job in life was she started off answering the phones for 911. And she was so good at it. She loved her job so much that she then moved into managing the whole phone bank. This woman knows how to take a phone call. And we called that woman and I said, I need you. I said, I'm going to be honest with you. You're on a very short list of one. I need you for this job. And we got her. And that's the way that goes. And I'm excited about having her. She's not 100% up to speed, but she's about, what would you say, 90%, Chris? Because we're getting her there. It takes a lot to get someone up to speed really fast, but she's getting there.
Especially when we're making all the changes we're making on the back end of things, right? So you can't just say, here's all of the processes like they will be a month from now. You have to say, okay, here's where we can get you and help keep me accountable to this. And that I think is something she's done a great job of so far is, hey, this person called. They said they called a week ago or 2 weeks ago. Can you follow up with them immediately? So if you have a question and you call us, it's getting resolved, which was not always the case previously. Whether it's a call, an email, anything that comes up, you just want to say hi, give us a call, let us know, or send us an email and let us know. And I think that is something that we needed to be a lot more open to and have somebody in that position that is, quite frankly, a bulldog, right?
Yeah.
She has one rule, and it's please don't make me a liar. If I tell somebody something on the phone, it needs to get done on that timeline. And we gave her the ability to do that. And I think that's something that the customer service team didn't have a lot of previously. They didn't have a lot of the freedom previously because we weren't sure if they were actually doing their job or not. We know
we found one guy that was working for us that said he answered every email every day. How many emails did we find that he just shoved under the rug whenever we fired him?
A couple hundred.
I thought it was more like more than that.
Well, those were the ones that weren't more than I think a month and a half old at that point. So
Yeah.
it
was mind-boggling to me. My heart sank, and I wanted to go and wring that guy's neck. I really did. But anyway, what do we have there, Chris?
So, Vinny, you and I were talking the other day, and one of the things that we talk about when we're not talking about football or everything that we need to do on the Pure Vitamin Club, Pure Coffee Club, NSNG Foods side of thing is we do talk about random things that pop up. And I wanted to get your opinion on something. I saw an article pop up in my feed the other day from MindBodyGreen. I'm sure you're familiar with the site, right? But they were quoting a story, a study that just came out that is talking about the impact that low-carb diets have on muscle growth and performance. And if we want to dive into the nitty-gritty of the study that we can, but I think just from being around long enough, the angle that they take in the study, right? Which is saying, oh, this is not good for performance or for muscle growth. What say you? And then if we want to get into the nitty-gritty, let me know and I can dive into that a little bit.
Well, can I ask a few questions?
Yeah.
First off, I know a lot about MindBodyGreen. The green part basically means mind body veganism, if I'm being perfectly honest. So they're going to always, most vegan foods are very high carbohydrate, lacking in a lot of good healthy fats and lacking largely in protein. That's why a lot of the vegan sites they'll go, protein, pshaw. Who needs protein? Protein is overrated. Well, every cell in your body is made of amino acids, which are the breakdowns of proteins. But since their diet doesn't offer a lot of great proteins, they just go, nobody needs protein, right? And look, I could say the same thing about the other religion, which is now carnivore. They're in the opposite direction. They'll tell you, some of the zealots over there, broccoli is conspiring to kill you. You know, the defense chemicals in broccoli is meant to kill humans. And so you see where these people are, right? Everyone is spewing their side and trying to make themselves right. So you have that. I'm going to ask this question. Is it an epidemiological study?
It appears to have been a meta review. So they looked at a bunch of different studies. And it's interesting, Vinny, that you brought up protein, because the complaint in the meta review is that low carb diets, one, increase fat oxidation and decrease fat mass. Not necessarily a bad thing, right? If you're trying to lose weight, that's kind of the idea. But the other side of this was that, hey, it increases oxidation of BCAAs within 24 hours. And if you're doing a low carb diet for up to 8 to 12 weeks, it can change your anabolic signaling, the protein synthesis, and they're thinking that's all related to the increased oxidation in branch chain amino acids. Does that make sense to you?
Not really. Look, one of the main things that side of the aisle will say is you need carbohydrates to build muscle. And I would push back and say, well, you need protein to build muscle. And they would say, yeah, but you need the carbohydrate for energy. And I was, well, fat works as energy, especially if you're building muscle, right? So they'll go, oh, no, but insulin plays a role in muscle synthesis and this, they'll come up with all, these other excuses. And the body is not that straightforward, right? So the term back in the 70s and 80s, and I used to hear this and I used to follow along, is you need a lot of carbohydrate because it's muscle sparing. And the general conceit was, when you're working out very hard, like a bodybuilder or a power lifter or what have you, if you don't have enough glycogen in your muscles, then your body will break down protein in order to cause some, glycation, some glycogen, and then you can continue to work out. So they would say that, if you're not getting enough carbohydrates in there, you don't have enough glycogen, you're going to break down muscle during the workout. And the answer to that is bullshit. If you're eating enough medium chain triglycerides and you're working out, you'll have exactly what you need. By the way, your body has all of the carbohydrates it needs. If you're maintaining homeostasis, you have enough sugar in your blood. When I say sugar, you have enough glucose in your body, blood glycogen, to keep yourself going through any length of workout, any kind of weightlifting workout, right? You don't need to have a booster in there while you're working out. And then when you're done with that workout, if you get enough protein, and by the way, there's no 30-minute window. That's another bro science thing. There's never been a study that showed that there's a 30-minute window where your body super absorbs, proteins. Just doesn't happen, right? As long as you're keeping protein going all day long. That's why if you have a good breakfast with things like eggs and bacon and what have you, meat, some people eat meat for breakfast. You keep animal protein going if you have a midday meal, and you keep animal protein going at night, you'll have all the protein in your body to continue to build muscle if you're training, period. End of story. Now, is there any time where you need to take in a carbohydrate? Yes. Yes, there is. Oh, wait, Vinny, you're talking about carbohydrates. Is that something I need? Maybe, maybe. And here's when and here's why. If you stay in zone 2, and we've had people do N1 experiments, people like Mike McKnight, who have gone 200 miles on nothing but salt. He used my product, ultra salt and water. As a matter of fact, he wanted to make sure he didn't have any extra calories. So he didn't even want the gel capsules that they came in. He took them out and poured the minerals straight into water. He had minerals and water and went 200 miles on a run, nonstop, proving that your body can run on its energy for at least that long. Now, as far as I know, there's not many people running 200 miles. So you don't have to worry about running out of energy anytime soon. And if you're going, wait a minute, does he have a lot of extra fat on his body? No, Mike McKnight is very lean. Even the leanest people have enough fat to walk across the United States if they need to. We have that much extra energy on our bodies, even if we're lean. Okay. I might be getting in the weeds here just a bit, but the time that you might need some carbohydrates, and it's the reason I carry it with me if I'm on a glacier, on any kind of long hike or anything else, I'll carry, I don't go buy anything special. I'll usually stop at a drugstore or a grocery store or a liquor shop and buy Lifesavers, the little candy. Why? Because there's little tiny doses in there. So Vinny, if your diet works so well, why do you ever need sugar? Well, if there's ever a time on that mountain when I have to work harder than normal, right? I have to come out of zone 2 and I'm working for long periods in zone 3 and zone 4, you can run through some of your blood glycogen. And at that point, you want to put some back on. One little simple lifesaver can, if you're working really hard for like 12 or 14 hours, you might run through half a pack of Lifesavers. That's not a lot of sugar, but it will get your body where it'll keep you at homeostasis so that your body can keep using fat as energy. Chris, did I explain that in a way that people can understand it?
It made sense to me. The pushback, I think, from the study authors is they're saying it's 130 grams of carbs is what they're calling a low carb diet. That to me seems insane, right? You'd have to eat 10 packs of those Lifesavers. The interesting thing, and this is what we often see with these types of headlines, Vin, is the headline doesn't even really add up to what's in the study. So what they're saying is, yes, it does have an impact on the anabolic response. But if you read through the rest of it, they say, hey, it doesn't actually affect overall strength. Where they saw the difference in the study was anaerobic output during high intensity sprint and time to exhaustion testing. That to me makes perfect sense, right? If you're trying to sprint and you're not conditioned to be low carb, you haven't made that metabolic switch, that would have an outsized impact on that type of exercise. Am I missing something there?
No. And look, it was that famous twin study that they did a few years ago in England, where one twin, they were about the same height, weight, and everything. They're identical. So everything was identical. And for 1 week, they gave one twin nothing but sugar and carbs. And the other one, they had just eat butter and just fat, right? And they measured a bunch of things, but they had them do different things. Well, the brother that went from just eating whatever diet he was eating to eating just basically butter and, coconut oil or whatever, just eating nothing but high fat. And I think they gave him a cursory amount of protein in order to keep him going. But the other brother was pounding down all the breakfast cereal he wanted, all the candy, all the pies, cakes, everything else. And one of the things it's like, all right, we're going to have these guys run 3 miles and the third mile is uphill, right? And of course, the brother who had just changed to an all-fat diet his body hadn't really crossed over yet. It takes longer than 5 days to cross over. And these guys are going, see, look at that guy, bonking, can't move, huffing and puffing, can't even walk up the mountain. He can't. Yeah, okay. That's exactly what would happen, right? Your body hasn't changed over to convert and use ketones properly yet. It takes longer for that to happen. It's that simple. It's really that simple. So, whenever I see MindBodyGreen or any of these companies, yeah, of course they're going to squint their eyes and move things in a direction they want them to be. Does that make sense?
It does. And I think that example popped into my feed, and I knew that would get you rocking and rolling, because it's a good example of, you can't just read the headline, right? If you read the headline there, it sounds like that's the end of the world. But it turns out it didn't actually impact their strength at all, which is the entire reason for the claim. Hey, if you're trying to build muscle, yeah, like keto might be really good for losing fat, which in and of itself is not a bad thing for most people. But if you're
Right.
trying to build muscle, then maybe you don't want to do that. And that's not actually what it said, because they didn't test, or they didn't see a difference in overall strength at the end of the 8 to 12 week period. They saw a difference in an endurance test. I can speak English. And then turn around and report that as the result. And we saw the same thing. I had another one pop into my feed, Vinny, where they said ketogenic diet reduces friendly gut bacteria and raises cholesterol levels.
Oh, geez.
Can you take a wild guess at what they compared it to?
I go, just tell me, because I'm always shocked at what they're doing nowadays.
A low sugar diet. So they had a diet that was 45% carbohydrates, but only from fruits and vegetables,
Right.
and a low carb diet, and then a moderate sugar diet. So the low carb diet actually had sugar that was allowed, as long as they didn't exceed whatever the recommendation was for that particular person.
Right.
The low sugar diet, they said, oh, that had the best impact on gut health. Why? Because those people were all eating real food, right? They could not eat sugar. They had to have less than, it was 5%, I think, less than 5% of their daily calories from sugar. The low carb diet, people could eat sugar as long as they didn't exceed that carbohydrate threshold. So what do you eat? Well, if you're sitting there eating Doritos, obviously that's going to make a difference.
Right.
But even in that study, they found a huge number of benefits to the low carb diet, just not the same benefits that the low sugar people had to the gut bacteria, right? Why would those people potentially have a better response to the low sugar diet? Why would their gut bacteria look better? I don't know, because they stopped eating all of the processed foods that the people in the other two groups, the standard American diet and their whatever their version of a dirty keto diet was, were eating. Like it seems to me, and I feel like you have a giant rant on this because you've made, I don't know, like 3 movies about it, but no one uses any common sense when it comes to nutritional research. They go, oh, here's this thing. Let's take the weird version of this thing and then see what headline we can tease out of it, instead of reporting the actual results, which were, both of those were substantially better. They did see a difference. And then instead of saying, we need to do more research to figure out the difference, they say keto or low carb is terrible for your gut. When it's not. It was actually better than the people on the standard American diet, but it
Right.
didn't have quite as good of an impact as the people who were required, based on the dietary restrictions, to only eat real food, even if it was a little bit of a higher carbohydrate intake.
Well, look, that's what they're doing, and that's what Nina Teicholz's book was all about. She set out to prove that the vegan and vegetarian diets were the best, and that's how the she couldn't deny what the truth was, because the woman just teased out everything from the studies, and the same studies that said that meat and eating foods with saturated fats were bad. Turns out they were the best foods to eat, and after 10 years of research, she put out Big Fat Surprise, and there you have it. Right. I mean, the truth is stranger than fiction. I'm going to leave it at that because we have to get to our other group. Chris, you're going to be on X soon under your name, right? And you're going to be
NSNG
there.
Chris. Yep.
Yeah, you're going to be there and, helping me talk to people. And we really want to be, I hate this fucking word because everyone's using it, but we're going to actually be transparent. Everyone goes, oh, we're transparent. And then nothing can be further from the truth. We're putting everything out there. We fucked up. We had a problem. I didn't have my eye on the ball, and I blame me. Even though we had all the supply chain things, I still blame me, because guess what? It's my company. There's no one else to blame. and I'm going to fix it. Please stick with me while I do right. Chris, you're going to find him at NSNG Chris. Is that what it is? Over on X. Hey, on the 13th of this month, October, it's a Sunday, I will be on the mall in Washington, D.C., kissing babies, rolling up my sleeves just like a politician. That's what politicians do, Chris. Do they still kiss babies? Or is that done now?
Post COVID, probably not. Do they allow you to kiss babies, Vinny? Isn't there a law against that?
Remember politicians used to grab the baby and kiss the baby and then they would roll up their sleeves like they're getting ready to work. Yeah.
That's my favorite politician meme is, let's take off the suit jacket and roll up my starched white sleeves like I'm going to go dig a hole.
Like I'm getting ready to work here, right?
That and grand opening ceremonies where they do the same thing, right? You have the construction, the nice hard hat on with shiny, your tuxedo, and you throw one shovel of dirt over your shoulder. You're like, yeah. Right?
Yeah, I just shoveled. All right, so I will bring a shovel and I will roll up my sleeves in Washington, D.C., and you can, on the 13th, it's called Metabolic Revolution. You can go to metabolicrevolution.org and see what's going on there. A lot of people are asking me, are you really going to be there? Yes, they can't advertise that I'm going to be there and me not show up. So I will be there on the 13th. I will be up on stage doing a thing. They asked me to come up and talk. And I'm looking forward to it. Some of my friends, the aforementioned Nina Teichos is going to be there. Dr. Mark Cucuzella, who you'll hear on the Friday show coming up, he will be there. I think Robert Lustig will be there. Oh, I think Georgia Eade. I'm just naming a few I know off the top of my head. I'm excited because I love all of these people. Some of them have been in my movies. Speaking of my movies, Dirty Keto is kicking ass over at Amazon. Go to Amazon, watch it, rate it, review it. Do it. Chris, is the VinnieTortorich.com/row, ROWE, still open?
Yes, it is.
Folks, go sign up. We're going to be shutting that down at some point. We opened it up for the micro people. People are still coming in. So every day I ask Chris, are people still coming? Yeah, tons of people are coming in. The more the merrier. The more people we can help, the better. You don't have to be a micro fan to do it. You could just go to VinnieTortorich.com/row, sign up. And hell, if you had done it before right now, you could have been in the meeting tonight. But you could catch the one in 2 weeks because I'll do it again. All right. On behalf of Chris Shaffer, my name is Vinnie Tortorich. Put life into living, and let's do it with just a little bit more of a very young Mark Knopfler here.